Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are flying the Fly-Somewhere Learjet 35 one more time. And we are once again doing this in the air ambulance configuration. Now, this one, however, was actually not completely inspired by the particular aircraft or route that we are flying, but much rather I was simply looking for, hey, where can I find some interesting weather conditions? And yep, here you go. Christchurch giving us gust 44, Wellington giving us gust 46, and those are pretty close together to one another, so I thought, okay, who might be crazy enough to actually fly something like that? Yep, that's where the private aviation guys are coming in. So, yeah. Here we are, back in the Learjet, which I did want to fly anyway, again on the channel, so let's go ahead and get right into this one. We are going to clear all of those covers over here, then let's go ahead and open the doors, and yeah, let's also remove the chocks already, because I just know that otherwise I am going to forget about it. So, we've got two doctors and a patient sitting in the back over there. And then I suggest we just run up to the flight deck, get the tablet out, and open up that aircraft app to do a little bit of performance and payload. So starting over here, we are gonna start in the flight deck, and we want the maximum that it allows here, 150 pounds. I wish it was that easy to lose weight in the real world. And the same for our co-pilot as well. Then in the back, well, that gentleman looked rather sturdy, so we're gonna give him 200 pounds, and then let's use 175 over here. Alright, load all of that stuff into the aircraft. Then our first officer is on board with us as well. And then let's very quickly head over into the Learjet app just to review the most important points here. Learjet 35A, and looking at the fuel page, we do have a good amount of fuel in the tanks. That is perfect, then we don't need to refuel. For the avionics, we fitted the TDS GTN XI, both the 750 and the 650, to this airplane, and then, well, that's pretty much everything we need here for the time being. Lastly, we are going to be using the Navigraph charts for today's flight. So let's quickly go ahead and load that up. Well, let's just import the latest flight from SimBrief once again. That's going to be this one. And here we go. Alright then. So with that, we've got pretty much everything that we are going to need for today's flight. So let's get started with a review of the flight plan. So on the SimBrief Dispatch app, we can nicely download our plan and have a look. Now, we're flying the November 749 Alpha Whiskey, which is this plane, a Learjet 35, departing from Christchurch over to Wellington. We did already quickly talk about today's weather, so 310 is the planned level, and with that in mind, let's just quickly go down into the route. And this is what it looks like, departing Christchurch, and then pretty much a straight line over to Wellington. For the arrival airport, the forecast is 340 at 30, gust 55, and that means we do need a good alternate, which is going to be Auckland, which has actually excellent weather conditions over here. So overall, the wind is not that far offset from the runway center line, even though it is very strong, but it isn't that far offset, which is the only reason why we are even allowed to fly like that, because if that 44 knots, or even those 55 from the forecast over here, would be direct crosswind, yeah, then we'd be screwed. We wouldn't be allowed to fly like that. But with the wind coming from the front, it's actually okay, actually legal, still going to be a lot of fun. Wind shear is to be expected today. So I'd say without any further ado, we go right into this. So let's start down here. The batteries are coming on, the inverters are coming on, and then the avionic master is going to come on, so that we can quickly grab our Asus, get our startup clearance, and then get the engines running, because we do not actually have any ground power available today. So let's see. Navigraph charts, delivery is going to be 28.2 and Atus 1272. So why not start on that? 127.2.
Maintain awareness while taxiing. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information golf.
Alright, Asus Golf.
Christchurch International Airport, information golf. 2130 Zulu. Arriving and departing runways 2029er. Wind 285 at 23. Visibility 10.
285 at 23. Huh.
No cloud detected. Temperature 29er. Dew point 12. QNH 09906. Transition
09906.
Jet blast caution on the north.
That's 2944.
Maintain awareness while taxiing. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read back all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information golf. Christchurch International.
Alrighty, let's get going. Christchurch delivery November 749 Alpha Whiskey, request IFR clearance to Wellington.
Give me 1 second for that clearance.
Okay, they're working on it, that's good. Would be nice if we had a little notepad or something on here.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, cleared to Wellington via the Cabo 6 Romeo departure, then is filed. Expect runway 29er, initial climb to 4,000 feet. Departure on 120.900 squawk 4341.
Oh, lovely. Nothing of that works. Okay, well, then let's try and see if we can actually do that readback. Please say again for November 749 Alpha Whiskey. Why is that stuff not working? Right, clear that, please.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, cleared to Wellington via the Cabo 6 Romeo departure, then is filed. Expect runway 29er. Initial climb altitude 4,000 feet. Departure on 120.900 squawk 4341.
Okay, lovely. Squawk 4341, clear to Wellington, Cabo 6 Romeo. Runway 29er, climbing 4,000, November 749 Alpha Whiskey. I got no idea why that drawing doesn't work right now, but that is annoying.
Clearance on request, year number 1.
Okay, 4341 is already in the transponder, and the rest is set. Alright, good.
Learjet
So
9 Alpha Whiskey, read back correct. Contact ground for taxi instructions. Expect runway 29er.
over the ground, expecting 29er, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey. Okay, that's gonna be 1219er. Our clearance is received, then let's go ahead and shut those avionics all down again, and then we can start our airplane up. So let's go ahead and close that door. So that's gonna be the bottom first. Alright. Then we're ready to go. So let's do a very quick system check down here. And, well, the light's on. Seatbelts should be on. Then we can do a very quick system test. Alright, fire detection test is looking good. We'll do the rest as soon as we got the engines running. Then our climb is going to be to 31,000, so this is looking quite good. Well, the light's on. Alright, this is how it should be. Alright then, good. Ready to go. And then we are going to start engines 1 and 2 in that sequence. So, engine 1 start. %. 4,000 4000 is already set. Okay, good start of 1. Generator on and starting 2. Here's 10%. Alright, that's 2 good starts. Then let's get going. VHF 1, 2. Pitot heat, avionic master, all of that stuff's coming on. Ignition on, stall warning on. Lights remain off for the time being, lights are set. So, going down here, we've got everything set and the flaps are coming into position 8. Lovely, then we just need to set up our radios, please. Now here's something interesting.
System test okay.
Sometimes you just gotta restart those avionics, because when you notice that I could barely write something on here, that is an indication that we just had a very low interaction rate here. Sometimes you get the same thing on the radios, and well, look at that, I'm kinda getting it here again on the 650, while the left side is working absolutely fine. So yeah, I do suppose that happens, so let's just go ahead as long as number 1 is operating fine.
Okay.
So, load procedures. Our departure is going to be the Cabot 6 Romeo. And that one is towards Greater. Load. Then it's going to be Yankee 393 towards Watts. And Wellington is the destination. We'll enter anything else later on. So let's go ahead and cross-check that departure. So, straight ahead until 550, maximum 230 knots until the turn is complete. So 230 is set, and then 322 inbound to NITAC. So 322 is selected, inbound to NITAC above 2500. And down here we got departure and runway, 550 feet, and then 323 inbound to NITAC above 2500, and thereafter via Cabot to Greater. And we got Cabot and then Greater. Alright, all of that stuff is basically looking good down here, so I'd say then we can just go ahead and get going. 4000 altimeter is also set. Then you go onto the flight plan down here, please, and you give me the moving map. So then we had a couple of warnings to test. So left stick shaker test, right stick shaker test, and that's all looking good. So then let's call ground and let's get going. Christchurch ground, November 749 Alpha Whiskey, request taxi. Okay, takeoff trim warning over there.
Learjet 9
Fixed.
Alpha Whiskey, expect runway 29er, taxi via Echo, Foxtrot 1.
Taxi runway 29 via Echo and Foxtrot 1, November 749 Alpha Whiskey. Alright, so that's Fox 1 down here.
Whiskey, contact tower on 118.4, bye bye.
118.4, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, bye bye. Okay, great, so Fox 1 is right down here, so let's go. Lights on, brake off,
Learjet 9
brakes
Alpha Whiskey,
checked,
say again, please.
steering on, Yeah, you are not supposed to be there, my friend. Okay, so to review the takeoff briefing, it's going to be left seat takeoff, runway 29, flaps 8, noise abatement procedure 2, and let's see about the takeoff speeds. So, takeoff thrust 94.7, speeds 1830-33. So 94.7, let's pre-select that. Alright, so the sit is straight at 500 and then a right turn out, and we got an initial climb of 4,000 MSA in the departure sector, 7,100, so in case of engine out it's just a right hand turn out to the water. Officially the MSA is 4,800 here, but over the water 3,000 is going to keep us safe. Visual pattern back for landing is possible anytime. Runway 29er is going to be the landing runway. That thing is 5,700 feet long, and we require 3,800 feet for takeoff. Alright, that's pretty much it. Any questions or suggestions? No? Beautiful, then that's our briefing complete, so let's call for departure clearance. Christchurch Tower, November 749 Alpha Whiskey, ready for departure.
Learjet 749 Alpha Whiskey, Christchurch Tower, runway 29er, winds 280 at 23, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 29er, clear for takeoff, Learjet 749 Alpha Whiskey. Okay, the left is clear, the right is clear. So, the windsock is down the runway. Here we are lined up. Very quick check of the thrust reversers. Working perfectly. Okay. So, strobe light on, landing lights on. Down here everything is set, no anti-ice required, and transponder on. Alright. Northwest steering disconnected, and then we're ready to go. So, takeoff. And weather radar on 25 miles. Let's go. So, looking for 94.7% N1. Thrust set. 100 knots. V1. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Flaps up. Alright, going through 500. Let's start a shallow right hand turn. I suppose we can count the turn completed. Over to departure, Learjet 749 Alpha Whiskey. Christchurch departure, Learjet 749 Alpha Whiskey, passing 3,200, climbing 4,000.
Alpha Whiskey, Christchurch departure, radar contact, climb, flight level 080.
Climbing flight level 80, Learjet 749 Alpha Whiskey. Set, 80 tracked. Alright, set 90%. Here we go, 90%, climb thrust is good. Man, that's quite the wind deviation here.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, climb flight level 220, objective.
Climb level 220, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey. Alright, look at that. 8,000 feet a minute. That's why I love this airplane. That's why I totally love it. Alright, right turn 047. Here we go. So, set standard. So, standard set once, twice, and 3 times. Passing flight level 90. Now, checked. Interesting, down here it says track 015, even though it's had a different one on the turn 2 indication on the GPS. But alright, so be it. So, going through 10,000, let's accelerate this up to 290 knots. Then off the takeoff items, lights are coming off. Alright, slowly reaching 290 knots. So let's go nav, speed hold, and autopilot engage. Thrust reverse is disarmed, and down here, ignition can also come off now. Fasten belts off, and the rest is set. Okay, beautiful. Then we are nicely on our way. 4,000 feet a minute rate of climb, that's just beautiful. We're approaching Cockpit, from there it's gonna go direct to Greater, and then we'll see. So let's see, destination Asus is 126.9 on.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, climb flight level 310,
Climb flight level 310, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, yeah. Alright, I couldn't resist doing that. So let's go to vertical speed here for a moment. Just because I do want to accelerate a little. Okay, so new track 025. That's the one thing that I do find a bit annoying in this airplane. You always have to move the course manually. It's realistic, the real world airplane couldn't do this, but it's still a little bit annoying. Okay, back at 290, speed hold, I'll select Alt. Okay, so back to the Asus, 126.9. Let's see if we can already receive anything there.
Advise on initial contact. You have information X-ray. Wellington International Airport. Information X-ray. 21300. Arriving and departing runway 34. Wind 35030 gusting 45. Visibility 10. Sky conditions. Scattered at 2100 feet. Temperature 21. Dew point 16. QNH 1008. Transition level 150. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read bank all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact.
Okay, gust 45. That definitely sounds attractive.
Visibility 10. Sky conditions. Scattered at 2100 feet.
Alright then, I heard what I needed to hear. That sounds interesting. That sounds very interesting. And that definitely sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. So the wind is down the runway, but gusting 45. Man, that's gonna be... I'm going to like it, let's say it that way. I'm going to like it a lot. So let's see what we are going to do down there. It's runway 34, I think they said. So what do we have available on that runway? That looks like an ILS. Yeah, that is an ILS. Alright, then we are definitely going to use it. In weather like this, do not mess around. So let's just have a look into the briefing down here. So 250 below 10,000 within 30 miles, instrument approach at the promulgated speeds, and minimum 150 to 5 miles. Okay, that is going to be relevant for us. Visual approach ain't gonna do that. And the rest looks easy, okay. What else do we have here? Weather criteria. Jet, day and night, ceiling 2,000 feet, visibility 8,000. Well, ain't gonna be much of a problem for us. Okay. That's really not gonna be any problem today. So let's just quickly go ahead and start programming something here. New track 012. So, Wellington, procedures, arrival.
Christchurch info, New Zealand 347.
We're coming from down here, Warp 6 Alpha.
New Zealand 347, Mike, radar contact.
Listen to that, someone else is actually insane enough to go flying as well. We're not the only ones. Alright, and then Wellington load procedures, approach ILS 34. Coming in from Umaga. Load approach, thank you. And here we go. Okay, nice. So all that good stuff is in here. Then let's go ahead and start cross-checking. So wards to on-docks above 6,000. We got that. Then we continue assault above 5,000. Then we got META, which is well, all altitude restrictions by ATC, but probably a good thing to have it in here anyway. Yeah, META below some thousand, that's good. Alright, then on was Jonah, and then we got Umaga above 2,000 and max 190. And Umaga 2,000 is in here. So far so good. Then let's move over to the ILS chart. From Umaga towards Bhutan, and then basically 2,000 feet to the intercept point. So we got Umaga, Bhutan, and then the Fox India in 2000. Then we got the runways missed approach point and the go around to Ganji, Newlands, and then 352 outbound climbing 3000. And we got Ganji, Newland, 352 vectors climbing 3000. Alright, all of that is looking good. Then we are happy with what we've got in the box. 109.9 can go active. And Wellington 12.3 could go in the box too. Come on, switch that over please. Thanks. And that's 12.3. Okay.
Descend via Ward 6 Alpha into Wellington. QNH 1008.
Descending via the Ward 6 Alpha and Wellington on QNH 1008, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey.
Vertical check.
Okay, 1008 is pre-selected and looks like we will be starting the descent before we've even reached the cruise level. But let's just check. VNAV, yeah, 3-degree descent looks good, so... Yep, we'll be descending before we've even leveled off at the cruise level, but that is fine.
Christchurch info, Jetstar 203, flight level 350.
Looks like at the end of the day we didn't climb as well as I thought initially, but it's okay. We've reached level 300 on a short flight like this. 1,000 to go. Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, please confirm the cleared altitude again. I think it said descent by the arrival, but I don't remember if there was any particular altitude included with it. So what I'll do is I'll set the altitude down. Then we'll just start the descent here at like 2,500, I believe. Like that. Oh, come on. $2,500, here we are. Alright then, destination field elevation is sea level, 24 feet. So that's selected. Then the cabin can already start the descent. In the meantime, why did nav mode disengage? Normally that thing should have stayed on as far as my system understanding of the autopilot is. Now, I'm not claiming that I got a perfect understanding here, but should. Alright, so 280 knots for the descent so that we don't accidentally overspeed it. Like that. Should be good. So let's see, final approach course 340, we'll have to set that later on. We can already set it on the right hand side though. Just so that we have it available as a reminder later on. Then Newlands 358. Where's... oh yeah, down here. Here we go, 358 active in number 1, and then we can select that on the RMI as well. Alright, all the rest is already done, then let's continue our descent along the arrival, and that's gonna be 6,000 until OMDOX. So, altitude set is 6,000, then QNH 2978.
Or above 1000, QNH 1008.
Crossing OMDOX at or above 6,000 on 1008, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey. Okay, looks good. So let's see, 65 miles to our destination, we are in 23,000 right now, so...
9 Alpha Whiskey, roger. Cross OMDOX.
Yeah, you said that already. Why are you repeating yourself? Alright, so with that we're on a nice descent. Let's just do a bit of a landing calculation here. So Learjet app, go back, landing performance, runway elevation is 0. That was a bit of wind here. So runway elevation is 0, landing weight in pounds is probably going to be pretty much full. So let's just tell it we're at 15,000. And the temperature in Celsius is 26. Alright, calculate. So we're looking at a VREF of 127, which is up here. Okay. Nice, so that's pretty much everything set. What's VNAV saying now? Descent rate required 2,500. Looks good. And 2,500 is pretty much what we are doing down here. I like it. So for the approach briefing, we are going to fly an ILS approach runway 3... What did I say? 3-1? No, 3-4. Down in Wellington. We are following the entire Ward 6 Alpha standard arrival most likely, maybe with a little shortcut by our traffic control. We are going to see about that. For the arrival, we got frequencies 109.9, active nav 1, and in standby nav 2. Final approach course 340. The minimum is going to be in 300 feet. We do unfortunately not have any bug to indicate that, so we'll just have to live with manual minimums call out there. Apart from that, it just starts to get bumpy again, so seatbelts are coming on. Apart from that, missed approach straight out to Ganji and then to Newlands, follow QDR 352 outbound to 3000 and expect radar vectors. MSA up to 6600 in the northeast, 4800, 5400 down in the south. And that's pretty much it. Any questions or suggestions? No? Alright, then that's our approach briefing completed. I'm getting a little fast here, correcting for that. Okay, passing Wards right now, so we are entering the arrival. Let's see, is there anything else on here that might be interesting? No, not really. Alright, cool. Then
Contact Wellington approach on 119.75.
119.75, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey. Wellington arrival November 749 Alpha Whiskey, passing 14,400, descending 6,000. We expect the ILS 34 with the Umaga transition November 749 Alpha Whiskey. Okay then, right 022, set. Very good. Let's see about the vertical speed here. Required is still 2,100. Next up, Salty 5000. We are following the arrival, so 5000 is set. Okay, we are already approaching 10 again, so speed target back down towards 250, like that. We'll arm the reversers once we are below 250 knots, just to avoid any possible nonsense going on. Well, let's start slowing down. We're like 500 feet a minute here. I might remember that incorrectly, but I think we need to keep the turbine speed above 60% up here, so that we are able to keep the pressurization. Alright, cabin altitude's down at 0 already, differential pressure going down, looking good. So what's the new required descent rate? 2,000. Okay.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, descend altitude 3,000 feet.
Descent altitude 3,000 feet, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey. Here we go, 2,000 feet a minute. Nav vertical speed and 3,000 is set. I'll select alt.
Maintain 3,000 feet.
Yeah, that's what you said. Okay, passing 10,000, lights are on. The plane is maintaining those 240 knots very nicely over here. No need for any pilot interaction. I like that. So, leaving the South Island behind, going right into the North Islands. Let's listen to the Asus one more time.
Transition lever 150, advise on course heading, altitude, and flight following is requested. Read vet all runway and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact, you have information 0. Wellington International Airport, information 0. 22000. Arriving and departing runway 34. Wind 315 and 30 gusting 45. Visibility 10. Sky conditions, scattered at 2,000 feet. Temperature 21. Dew point 16. QNH 1008. Transition level 150, advise on course heading.
Okay, the winds are still there. That's the most important thing that we needed to know. Good, another quick VNAV check. Vertical speed required, still 2,000 feet a minute, but we are slowly getting back to that path here. Okay then, turning right, 070. We are below 250, thrust reversers are coming on, or rather are coming armed. On would probably end in a problem. Ain't gonna do that just yet. By the way, why did nobody turn on the Olympus? Okay, because I didn't do it and it would have been my job. Yeah, I can accept that.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, descend altitude 2,000 feet.
Descending altitude 2,000 feet, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey. Okay, so probably gonna do a left-hand turn momentarily here when passing Umaga, and he said that we are expecting the approach via Umaga, so we can turn final. 109.9, let's see if we receive anything. Yeah, we do. Okay, perfect, so let's start the speed reduction now. So, looking for 190 knots. So, turning final, 340 degrees. And I will just let nav mode do that for ourselves. Where are you turning? Don't do that. Manual flight. Cleared LS 34 Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, contact Wellington Tower on 118.8 at button.
118.8 Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, see ya. Alright, we are below 200, flaps 8, and gear down. Wellington Tower, Learjet 749 Alpha Whiskey established, ILS 0, correction 34. Alright, here we are on the glide slope, speed's coming back now.
49 Alpha Whiskey, Wellington Tower, roger.
We'll do 140 knots final, just to keep ourselves a little bit of margin here. Man, look at that crap angle.
Learjet 749 Alpha Whiskey, Wellington Tower, winds 310 at 30, gusting 45. Runway 34, clear to land.
Runway 34, clear land, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey. Alright, flaps 20. Man, luckily we are visual over here, otherwise we might have a problem. And we definitely do have a frame rate problem. What the fuck is this? Let me enjoy the approach. That approach is exactly the reason why we did the entire flight. Man, doesn't let me enjoy anything here. Hello? Alright, here we go, that's better. Flaps full. And the yacht emperors are off. So with that localizer kindly come in now. Alright, here comes the localizer. And here we are established back on the final. So they got their 150 knots. And we are already drifting off the center line again. Man. So let's bring her down to 140 knots, and then we'll just maintain that. So go around altitude 3000 is set. Very good likelihood that we might need it. So gears down, flaps are down. That's the landing checklist completed.
$500.
Alright, that's our runway. Not exactly always easy to see, because the moment I'm lowering my nose to be able to see something there, we are losing that glide slope. Wonder if that's because of an updraft? Or what that is. So we are on the Poppy. Man, that's some nasty bit of turbulence. All right. Okay, spoilers, reversers, steering on. 100 knots. And here we are. Well, to be honest, couldn't really see much. I would say that was an interesting bit of an approach. So let's vacate that runway.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, exit at Mike 5 if able. Taxi to Western Apron stand A2 via Mike 5, Mike monitor this frequency.
Via Mike to stand 8-2, Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey.
Learjet 9 Alpha Whiskey, hold short of runway 16-8 on a 5-mile final.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if he told me that we are going here. But that's a military apron. We're not going there. No, we are going somewhere over here. Somewhere to the main apron. Sometimes I really don't know. Sometimes ATC is doing strange stuff. Alright, so let's stop here for a very quick moment and clean all of that stuff up. Okay, here we are. Okay, so we'll just go somewhere on the left and we'll be parking there. So that was definitely a very interesting approach. Now, that final turn is something we need to talk about. So, obviously, we really overshot that final, and then we had real trouble re-intercepting it. What was the reason for that? Well, there is this button in the Learjet that lets you override the autopilot for... Yeah, whatever. There is this button in the autopilot that lets you override it so that you can manually control the pitch so that you can set a new vertical speed. That's what I did when I wanted to reduce our rate of descent over here in order to slow the airplane down. Unfortunately, it also completely kicked off the roll mode. And I don't believe it should do that. I believe it should actually give us a roll mode that re-engages when the button is released. That didn't happen. That's why we overshot. By the way, yes, I am parking at a stand with a jet bridge over here because we got to get our patients off, and they definitely look like they can still walk. So we'll just have them walk up the ladder into the terminal. All right, we'll stop it here.
Welcome to Wellington. Taxi to Western Apron stand A2 at your discretion. Stay on this frequency.
Yeah, whatever, thanks. Okay. So, steering's coming off, then we can shut the airplane down. And yeah, for the approach itself, obviously that was not exactly the definition of a stable approach. But yeah, with that kind of weather, honestly, that's pretty much what I would kind of expect from certain Learjet operators, let's put it that way. Obviously, some might feel attacked, not all of them are like this, but a couple of them most definitely are. Okay then, let's go ahead and shut her down. So, here we go, running down, then we can turn off that beacon, storm warning off, inverters off, batteries off, and the parking brake is set anyway. Alrighty, and with that, welcome. So yeah, not exactly the definition of a stable approach there, but unfortunately, there are a couple of Learjet operators who I would definitely trust to do an approach like that. For that reason, I continued it. Now I'm just missing a click spot to actually lower the... Come on. Where's that click spot? Here we go. Okay, and with that, welcome to Wellington. So thank you very much for flying along, everyone. Definitely was an interesting one. Let me know your feedback. I'm really interested to hear what you think about an approach like this. Obviously, weather conditions that were, let's say, slightly less than optimal for the aircraft, seeing that we couldn't even see the runway on the very final approach. Well, definitely was a lot of fun, so do let me know your feedback in the comments underneath. As always, like, comment, and subscribe if you're up for more. And with that, I'm really looking forward to see you all again right on the next one.